Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel True Crime and Trials, where I cover true crime and trials. And I prefer trials because I love the evidence and the facts, and I just love watching the courtroom and everything that goes on. So my previous video was telling you the backstory of Jodi Arias, because this is the case that I am now following. And like I said, I know it's an old one, but I knew of her. I knew a bit about the story, but seeing as things that are as they are, I know there's trials coming up, but this one's just to keep me ticking over, and I'm really interested to find out what happened. So before opening statements get going, the clerk reads out the indictments, and they are first-degree murder, premeditated murder, of which Jodi enters a plea of not guilty. So the prosecution statement. The prosecution lawyer, Juan Martinez, and yes, I've read about him, another scandalous lawyer, starts like any other prosecution lawyer would and goes straight in with what Jodi allegedly did to Travis, despite her saying she loved him. And Juan is very animated. I'm not going to lie, he's quite interesting to watch. I mean, especially after I'd seen, the articles about him. He also tells the jury that Travis was Mormon and Jodi became Mormon, and Travis actually baptized her the same year they met, which was in 2006. After the baptism, they became closer and the relationship progressed. But it was a long-distance relationship, so it was just text messages, emails, phone calls, although they would meet up occasionally. Eventually, their relationship did progress to having sex, even though it was not allowed before marriage in the Mormon faith. This relationship continued for about 5 months until June of 2007. So on 29th of June 2007, Jodi looked at Travis's phone to see if there was any contact with any other women, as apparently he was flirtatious. She found things she didn't like, and they then broke up. Even though they had broke up, it was still a long-distance relationship. So, they weren't together as a couple, but they still communicated. And yes, they still did continue to have sex when they could. A while later, Travis decided he would move on and start dating other people, although they still continued talking and having sex until April of 2008, when their relationship appears to have ended because Jodi moved 1,000 miles away from Travis. But they still continued to message and talk and have phone sex, which Jodi had recorded. Now on to the 9th of June 2008, when law enforcement received a 911 call from somebody called Marie Hill, who is someone Travis had gone on a few dates with, but Marie wasn't interested. Travis was given a trip to Cancun to go on the 10th of June, and he asked Marie to go with him, but obviously she said no, she wasn't interested in him that way. But he did manage to convince her to go by saying they would just go as friends. Did he probably have an ulterior motive? Yes, he probably did. So when the trip was coming up, Marie hadn't actually heard from Travis for a week, which was unusual because she says they would usually speak every day. So on the 9th of June, Marie goes to Travis's home and knocks on the door, but nobody answers, but she can see the dog. She calls one of her friends, who arrives with her boyfriend, and they knock on the door again and still no answer, and they can't seem to find a way in. Now, Travis has a garage with a code on it, so they tried to call other people to try and get the code for it, which is 0187. Jodi had this code. They got the code and went into the house through the garage. First thing they notice is that Travis's car is still in there, which worried them straight away, and they then continue up the stairs, and Marie says she was hit with a foul and pungent odour, but they carry on up the stairs. So Travis didn't live alone, he lived with other people. So I'm instantly thinking, well, hang on, if Marie smelt that odour, how come these other flatmates, housemates didn't smell anything? Very odd. Anyway, they go into Travis's room. They get to Travis's room, and it was locked, so they go ask a housemate to see if he has a key or they can gain access, and he has a key. They open the door, but Marie doesn't go in. The two males go in, but she can see through the crack of the door and says that she sees that there is a lot of blood, and they find Travis in the shower. Hence the 911 call from Marie that night. So when police came out to the scene, they said that the scene seemed staged. The body had also been washed down with a cup, so the body had no blood on him. So as to wash it, like it was some sort of effort to wash away any evidence. There were no murder weapons left either, which was obviously a gun and a knife. They also noticed that the killer had actually tried to clean up some of the actual crime scene, and a camera had been put in the washing machine and put on a cycle. So obviously, from my backstory video, I told you the amount of stab wounds he had. So, law enforcement were going to say it was a violent attack, and there were 3 ways he could have died. The medical examiner found that there was a stab to the heart area, which wasn't immediately or rapidly fatal, which meant it wouldn't have killed him straight away. It would have killed him eventually, but not instantly. He also found that Travis's neck had been cut from ear to ear, which would have immediately killed him, and there was also an injury to his head. Now, Travis also had defensive wounds, which means he fought, which means he was conscious at the time. So with this in mind, the medical examiner concluded that his first injury, which was the one to the heart, he got first because obviously he didn't die straight away. Then his throat was cut, and then he was dragged to the sink. So, having his throat cut, as per the medical examiner, that would have finished him off. So as he was being dragged to the sink, he was probably dead at this point, and then there was a gunshot to his head in the temple. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. How she can say it's self-defense. I mean, it's going to be so interesting to see how the defense work around this. I mean, going with self-defense, yes, but how can they explain the multitude of injuries he had? So back to the camera. Although it had been in the washing machine, law enforcement were able to get the SIM card out of the camera, and the SIM card showed that everything had been erased. Excuse me, but we know that police can recover deleted items, and they use the NCASE program. So they were able to retrieve photographs of having sex with Jodi on the 4th of June 2008. They also find more photographs of Travis in the shower, and they presume that Jodi took these on the same day. There is a 3rd set of photographs retrieved, which Juan Martinez says it shows the beginning of Travis being murdered. And he says these are all, in fact, accidental photos. And in one of the photos from the floor, he says you see Jodi's foot and Travis with his throat cut, and also Jodi dragging him. Jodi actually tries to implicate one of Travis's flatmates, as she tells police that the last time she was at Travis's was April of 2008. Jodi was then arrested on the 15th of June 2008, and Jodi then has to admit she was with Travis on that day. Obviously the day of his murder, because of the photographs. I mean, when they've got evidence to prove, you can't say otherwise. I mean, Jodi then tells the police that while she was taking the photograph, something hit her. She didn't understand what was going on until she saw that Travis was hurt. She said she was trying her best to lift him up to get him out of there, and that's what the photographs show, and not that she was killing him. Jodi also tells them it was a man and a woman, but she didn't know what they looked like because she could only see their eyes. She then continues to say that she did try to escape to get help, but was stopped by the man. He had a gun pointed at her face and actually went to shoot her, but the gun didn't go off. She said she tried her best to help Travis, but then she was able to grab her purse, run out of the house and drive away. So obviously there was no 911 call from her after this. You know, she'd run out of the house and left him for his friends to find him. And her reason for not calling the police was that her phone had no charge. Seriously, if you're going to lie, duh. Jodi went public with her story and appeared on Inside Edition. I have a clip here.
Against me right now is very compelling.
What really happened in there?
In a nutshell, 2 people took Travis's life, 2 monsters.
You did not shoot Travis.
No, I've never even shot a real gun.
You did not stab him 27 times.
That's heinous.
Or slit his throat from ear to ear.
I can't imagine slitting anyone's throat.
She also says in this interview that no jury will convict her because she's innocent, and to mark her words, she's very confident in this interview. So that's the end of that one. Interesting opening statement. I mean, run-of-the-mill, usual things, giving you more insight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the defence's opening statement. So I'll be back with that in the next video. Until then, bye for now.